Hello, everyone. My name is Nyemade, and I am NAMI Delaware's Diversity and Equity Fellow. This month, all month long, we are doing a series called You Are Not Alone. It's Mental Health Awareness Month, and we're really taking this time and opportunity to share and let everybody know that some of the things you may be struggling with or working through in your life, there are others who have walked that same path and have made it to the other side or are still on that journey. And you are indeed not alone. So I'm really excited. Today I have my guest with me, Erin Willis, and she's going to share a little bit about her life. But to start, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, so my name is Erin Willis. I am the Director of Business Development for Sun Delaware, and I have been there for 4 years now.
Awesome. And thank you again for joining me. I know that you've partnered with NAMI in the past, and that's how
Yes.
we got connected, and that's how I got your name. Now I know that when we started speaking, you said that you had went through some loss in your life, which led to a period of time of depression. Would you like to share a little bit about that?
Yes, so when I was 15 years old, my mom was diagnosed with breast cancer. And when you're 15 years old, you don't really know what to expect. So I was I played sports. My mom was my biggest cheerleader, my advocate. She was a best friend, but also a mom to me. And so she was diagnosed when I was 15, and then at 17 years old. And for me, and I still struggle with believing that because it's been this long, but especially at 17, I didn't know how to process. I did not understand the level of trauma until later. So I lost my mom at 17 and I went to college. And so for me, college was one of those things that you can go out and have fun. And it wasn't until I moved back home that it really sunk in to me that I wasn't busy. I was just sitting at home one day and I just felt this intense, I don't even know how to explain it, an intense feeling of just loss. And I had my first ever panic attack. I thought I was dying. I was 19 at the time. I was home for um, Christmas break, and my dad got remarried. So my stepmom took me to the emergency room, and they had told us that I had suffered from a panic attack. I, since that day, so that was around Christmas, um, I couldn't get out of bed. That whole entire break, I could not get out of bed. I had thoughts of not wanting to be alive anymore. I had thoughts of, I want to be with my mom. I don't want to be here anymore. And that was a really dark place for me. Um, I ended up taking a year off of school to help my sister. She had my two nephews that were very young, and I helped watch them. So I took a year off and I took that time for myself to help process. I got a therapist. I started seeing her 2 times a week, and then I got put on medication. And I always say my nephews saved my life because I was grieving, but I was yet witnessing something beautiful, helping my nephews get older and watching them and taking them to the park. So I will say, when I turned 19, 19 to 20 was my darkest time. But it wasn't until, like I said, I took that year off and I started therapy and medications. I became a runner that I actually started to feel what I needed to feel. I don't know if that makes sense, but
Yeah.
when you're struggling and you're going through something, it doesn't always hit you at that moment. It took me years later. It took me 2 years later for me to really get to feel that impact and allow myself to feel what I was feeling.
Yeah.
Um, so that was during then. And then about, let's see, 6 years later, so when I was 26, I had learned of my sister's addiction, and she lost my nephews to due to her using.
Mm-hmm.
She lost custody, and I fell right back into a depression. I had just started working at a behavioral health hospital in Ohio, in Columbus. And again, I struggled. I struggled so much. And, luckily I knew what I needed. It didn't take me long. I started therapy again. I started medications. And I've continued them since then. So I am a big proponent on people doing what they need to do to feel good and to take care of themselves. So that's something that, I struggled with postpartum depression with both of my kids. And, it's every day is a day that I'm able to reevaluate myself and ask myself, what do I need? So that's the biggest thing. And if I can help anybody, just one person, to let them know that me being, working for a behavioral health hospital and being a director level, and I struggle and have struggled with depression and anxiety, it's okay to have that. It's okay to not have a stigma that, we're not, that I'm not capable of a great job and doing and helping other people. Because I just think so many times people are so quick to judge others, and we're all human. None of us are perfect. So that if I can help one person, that's all that matters to me.
Yeah. And, I thank you for speaking up about this, because it's a tough subject. I mean, all of it, the loss of a parent, addiction, depression, anxiety, it's a lot to deal with. And that's part of why I wanted to do this, because you are dealing with it and have all of that, and you're still able to be successful and strive on. Because I think a lot of times when people, especially when you're younger and you're diagnosed with certain things, or you have certain things happen, you're like, well, that's it. That's my life. I'm really limited. But, it doesn't have to be limiting.
Right.
With your mom, I know you said that it took a couple years for it to really hit you. Like, do you think that was you, like, purposely suppressing it with, like, going out and partying and having fun? Or do you think it just really just didn't hit you?
I really think that I 100%, I was young. And, when I mean, I know for myself, when I thought the world revolved around me, and, I was active. I played all the sports. I played college softball, so I purposely stayed busy, but I also didn't want to allow myself. I know I suppressed it. I didn't want to think about it. So, years later, the 2 years later, when I just remember sitting there in my room, and I can't even imagine, I can't even like explain to you the feeling. I was just sitting there quiet, and it just hit me, and it felt like the air was taken out of me. And I think that was the first time I've ever just sat still, if that, like, I just sat with myself and my feeling, and that's when it hit. I also found her diary that she had wrote to me. I never knew any of that. I didn't know any of that stuff. So I cherish that journal. I still have it at my house. I go back and read it, because I had no idea, and like, now that I'm a mom, I think it impacts me a little bit more too. When I sit and I think about it, I allow myself, at certain times to really feel the grief I need to.
Yeah.
Not busy with my kids and work. And I'll go, and it hits me more because when I was 17, again, I felt angry that she was leaving me. That's how I felt. I felt abandoned. I felt like, how could she leave me here? And now, as a mom, I look at it like, I can't imagine what my mom went through. I can't imagine my mom knowing that she was dying, and she had to leave me. And so that's why she wrote me this journal. She wrote because she knew, but I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So it's things that, unfortunately, you learn as you get older. And, I try and help when we see adolescents at Sun and you know, they lose a parent or they're dealing with loss. I try and help them understand, you know, what the parent felt like. What do we feel like as parents, because I've done that. Because again, when you're young, you just don't think about really anybody but yourself.
Yeah, very true, very true. So after you had the panic attack and you went to the hospital, that's when you began seeing the therapist after that and got put on medication?
Yep. So the emergency room doctor you know, was like, hey, you have a panic attack. And actually the case manager came up and gave me a list of referrals in the emergency room. It was in Toledo, Ohio. She gave me a list, and she was like, this is who you know, here's places. And so I kind of just picked, like,
Mhm.
this one sounds good. And that's how I started seeing a therapist. And then the therapist referred me to a psychiatrist to get put on medications.
Was that difficult for you? Because I know, because I have severe depression and anxiety, but I really fought going on medication for a while. I was like, no, I'm strong enough. No, I got this. I can. And then eventually I was like, okay. And then even when I first got on it, I would get on it, feel better, and be like, okay, cool. I don't need it anymore. It took me a while to admit that I need to be on it consistently.
So mine was, it wasn't hard for me to take it because I never wanted to feel like I did. I'm a
Mhm.
control freak. So the fact that I couldn't control myself and my feelings, I was like, give me whatever I need so I don't feel like that again.
Yeah.
So that part wasn't bad. What was hard for me was I started feeling better. So I was like, I don't need it anymore. Well, then
Mhm.
I definitely had withdrawal and I didn't know that's what it was.
Yeah.
Um, I started having headaches. I started having really uncomfortable, like this, like I started having like palpitations again. And it was my sister was a nurse. So she was telling me like, hey, um, you are having withdrawal effect. This is what's going on with you. So I started my meds again. And yeah, that was a hard lesson I had to learn too. And again, I see patients all the time at Sun who are like, I got off my meds because I didn't think I needed them anymore. Well, then they
Mhm.
come to an inpatient facility because we have to stabilize them.
Yeah.
Um, so again, even a professional who works in it does the same things. We do the
Yeah.
same thing.
And I think that's part of why these conversations are so important, because I think a lot of us want off of them because of the stigma,
Yeah,
and I always equate it to like my asthma. Like I'm never like, okay, I can breathe. I never need that inhaler again. It's just like, it's a thing I need.
yeah, absolutely.
And then you said that, after things got a little bit stable and you got everything adjusted, you went through another, hard down period after your sister lost your nephews.
Hmm.
Um, was your experience, I don't want to necessarily say better, but because you sort of knew your warning signs, did it change the way that, this one hit you versus the previous one?
Absolutely. The therapist I had that I was seeing consistently.
Oh, sorry, it muted for a second.
Oh, okay. So the
You're
therapist,
back.
yeah,
Yeah.
so the therapist I had after I lost my mom was amazing, and she gave me a lot of really good tools. And so when I felt myself starting to isolate, it was a warning sign for me. Not wanting to shower, not wanting to get out of bed. So I immediately called her and I was like, I need to get in. She
Mhm.
got me in right away. So I knew what I needed to do. And like, again, I didn't want to feel at that place again. I didn't want to be at my, bottom.
Yeah.
Um, and so that's when I started to go back and see her.
Mhm. Well, that's good. I'm glad that you're able to acknowledge it and to address it and like know the signs. So I
Yeah.
think that that's really important, and especially because it presents itself different ways for everybody. I think a lot of times when people think of depression, they're like, "Oh, I'm sad," but like for me, I've noticed that mine is like I get angry, like snippy. I'm normally like a very happy person, but when I start having like an attitude and shortness with people, I'm like,
Yep.
"Oh, it's
Yep.
beginning." So yeah, it presents itself in all different ways, and everyone, I think on some level deals with a level of sadness throughout their time, but knowing when it's more than that and when it's, depression and when you need help can often be hard. But I'm glad that you're able to recognize that and get the help that you need.
Yeah.
Now, as someone, you have a very high pressure job. You do a lot, and you still are living with your depression because it's something that's not gone away. So, for someone who may want to just thinking about their future is like working through something, like, do you have any like advice or tips, just to help them know that, like, it's okay, like you can still kind of juggle both, or you don't have to let your depression hold you back?
Yeah. I mean, for me, so I'm a mom of two kids. I have a 5-year-old and a 2-year-old. I have a full-time job. I'm also a wife. My husband works nights. So, for me, I am a person who likes to stay busy and who likes to continue to work on myself. So I love to read as much as I can. Again, I'm always on the go most of the time, but I love to take time for myself. That's the biggest thing I can say. I know that people are like, oh, self care. But honestly, if you don't take care of yourself, this is something I had to learn the hard way. If you're not going to take care of yourself, no one's going to take care of you. No one is going to take care of you the way that you take care of yourself. So if that's just a bath, listening to your favorite music, and just having a jam session, I love doing that. Even on the way after I drop my kids off in the morning, I turn on something that I want to listen to. I sing. Like, those are little things that give me joy. So I always say, one, to do something, even if it's just like a little bit of time. But also that it's okay to live with your depression or anxiety as long as you know and not be afraid to channel it and use it to your benefit. So what I mean by that is, I work in a behavioral health facility. I have no problem going and talking to a patient or talking to their loved one and helping them understand, like, look, I've been in your shoes, or I've lost a person, or and helping other people understand that they're still going to be they're okay. They might not be the same person that you want them to be, but they're still a person.
Yeah.
And I love that. I love about that what I get to do. It's my favorite.
Yeah, I think it's great that you get to give back in that way also.
Yeah.
Well, I can't thank you enough for your time. I really appreciate you joining us and sharing, because I know sometimes it's difficult to be transparent about such a difficult topic, but I appreciate it.
Well, thank you for having me.
Absolutely. And thank you so much to those of you who have watched. As I said earlier, this is part of a series. You're not alone. So if you haven't already, you can go back and check out some of the other videos that we've done this month. And if you're not, go ahead and follow NAMI Delaware, because we do different videos about different topics all throughout the year. Thank you and have a great day.
Thank you.